Hey folks, it's Brian. I've got another Elderath Session review. Um, I have been taking written notes of these Elderath adventures, and so you probably have noticed that I've been reading those notes in the previous ones. And as I was preparing this video, I just felt that's not very entertaining. Not that it needs to be entertaining, but uh, just reading this stuff, there's no life, no vitality to it. So I'll try and do this from memory from last night. So we were at the apothecary's place, and we asked about, okay, what do you guys want? What are you doing here? This is my business, place of business kind of thing. And we asked about potions of healing, and Raymond actually asks about what he called mana regeneration potions, if there is such a thing here. And as she's going back to the shelf, she stops and she turns around, looks at us, and goes, "How are you going to pay for this?" We all just kind of look around at each other, and I think it was Tindo brings out a coin purse, with some coins, and she looks a little downcast. And Wes says, "What are the costs, so that we can then prepare for next time we're coming through?" And at that, she just looks disgusted at us and says, "Leave." And then she turns around and walks out her door to where she goes. So, okay, let's go, guys. Out into the hallway. So we're trying to figure out, what do we do next? Well, we know the goblins are in the northeast, and there's two hallways on the east side we haven't checked out yet. So we go back the way we came, counterclockwise, because clockwise we going towards the goblin area. I was trying to think, well, yeah, I've actually done that. But anyway, we do end up in the south corridor going east, and we're searching for secret doors and stuff on the outside wall. And sure enough, we come across, there's something here. Somebody else is able, yeah, this looks like, push this stone, it should open, kind of thing, and opens up. There's a hallway, tiled, eventually comes into a cavern, and there's a terrace going down to the river. The underground rivers, or a underground river, is flowing through here. So we, clamber on down. How wide is the beach? We're trying to examine things and just get a feel for the area. And we notice that in the water are these little teeny bioluminescent fish. And as we're, looking around, all of a sudden all the fish dart off to the west. And so we all look to the east and back up. And we start climbing up the terraces some. And Wes notices antennae in the water. And Raymond had been talking about the lobstrosity being down here somewhere. And I point and look, Raymond, you're right. It's the lobstrosity. And start climbing back up. And sure enough, the lobstrosity jumps out, or climbs out of the river, and is looking around. But we're no longer there because we've all climbed up. And we're all contemplating, what can we do to kill this thing? Because it is so tough, and a lot of us have, weapons that aren't really all that significant, or like my magic keeps getting repulsed by we're assuming the ring. And then it climbs back in the water. Well, while that's occurring, I believe it was Alexander saw that in the side of the lobstrosity is a sword protruding. And it's obviously been there for a long time, because the carapace of the lobster is actually growing up around the blade of the sword. Not all the way, because it hasn't gotten to the hilt yet. But we could tell, or he could tell, that the hilt itself was pristine. So we're all thinking, magic sword, magic sword. We got to kill the lobstrosity and get the magic sword. Yeah, the magic sword didn't kill the lobstrosity. How are we going to do that? So we depart, or it goes back in the water, right? And we depart. Continuing on down the south hallway, don't find anything else. So we go up to the first. There's two T intersections on the hallway going north on the east side. We get to the first one, go down it turns south and then turns back west, and there's a door on the south kind of thing. So we go into that room, and feels wet, damp in this room. There is a door on the southwest side. We open it up, and it opens up into a room, tiled. Well, not a room. There is a floor, a tiled floor for part of what would have been a room, but it's all been collapsed, and we're back in a cavern. There's a bench there, and some hooks above the bench where you could like hang stuff. And sure enough, there's like what appears to be ancient rotted molding cloth, piles of cloth. The ground there where something had been hung there. And sure enough, the underground river's running through here. We're up above it. Wes starts to look at the mosaic and is trying to wipe gunk away and that kind of thing. And it is a mosaic. It's not just tile. It's a mosaic. And not only is it a mosaic, it is exquisitely done. And Wes notices this and shares that with everybody else. So there was some money pumped into this room kind of deal. Must have been some kind of like a Roman bath kind of place at one point. But it was thousands of years ago. Plus, it's all been lost into the cavern kind of thing. So we go back out, go all the way back up, going north again in the main corridor, and there's the second T intersection, and we turn to go east. Now, Wes previously had seen a goblin duck into an entranceway on the north of this hallway. So we all wait here and send Alexander, the ranger, he's sneaky, up there to investigate, and it's a door. So we just listen, or we get up there. Tindo, he's our listener guy, doesn't hear anything. So we just bypass it, continue on down. When we get to the end of this hallway, just before the end, to the north is a little hallway that goes to a large iron-bound door. I'm trying to think, because we got different encounter areas. Yeah, we went to the little door. So we go to this door. Alexander tries to pick it. Is successful. It opens up. Oh, this door also has. This hallway has those pillars with the runes on it as well. And as we walk by, they flash blue. Nothing happens though. Door opens, and there's a hallway. And as we go down this hallway, at a certain point, everything changes, and we're in like fairyland. There is grass, bright sunny noonday, trees, butterflies, and there's a path that winds up to a grassy knoll, and it goes around the grassy knoll till at the top it goes through a single henge. How do I do it? It's like this. Here we go. A single henge. The two pillars and the crosspost. So we go and check it out. I'm looking around. Wes is looking around just to see if there aren't other creatures or any people or fairies or something out here, right? But there's not, because he's thinking this is like a fairyland kind of place. And so we go circling around, and as the party moves up the path, up the knoll, the time of day shifts until when we get to the top, it's midnight. So it goes from noon to midnight as we go up, and Wes is, okay, it has not been like 8 hours, so it's just some kind of magical effect. So he's not too worried. Instead of it taking us all day, all night to get up there. So we get to the top, and okay, it just stops at the henge, right? So what do? Do we go around it? Do we go through it? Do we investigate? And Alexander goes through the henge, and when he goes through the henge, it lights up, or runes light up, and he collapses unconscious. Tindo kind of reaches up there, grabs his foot, and just drags him back out of there. Wes is going through, his spells, and the closest thing that he can think of is his spell wall spells. And he's got now. So there's three kinds of magic. It could either be essence or channeling or mentalism, and he thinks it's probably essence, which is regular magic stuff. So he casts essence wall. Or Essence Shield, which is a 9th level spell. His spell goes to 10. So when he casts a spell, he's at a negative 9% because it's the ninth level. Plus, it takes 2 points of mana to cast. And so he does that. He is successful. Or did he fail? He failed the first time, I think, but he's successful the second time. So he's got the Essence Shield up, and then he steps through. And as he steps through, he can feel this whirlpool below him, trying to suck his magic down. Um, he tries to parry it with the Essence Shield, which is something the spell allows him to do. Is not successful with that, but does give him a bonus to resist Essence spells that are cast at him. And he is successful with that. And so he jumps back out of the way, explains what he felt to everybody else. And at that, eventually Alexander wakes up. He is completely drained of magic points and fatigue. Raymond does a little walk around to see if he notices anything different. Nothing. So, you know, we gather up the party and we go back down. As we go back down, it moves from midnight to noon again. We're down at the bottom. So we go over back towards the door and we're thinking, okay, let's just rest here because we got to recover our magic points. And it's getting evening time-ish. I mean, we're getting a little tired. We figure it's evening time. So they lock the door and they try spiking it, but they are not able to spike the door. It is magic and it will not allow the spikes to do anything. Interesting. So we got a nice safe place to rest, and we do so. We go ahead and sleep in shifts and that kind of thing. Recover all of our magic points. And in the morning we break camp. And you know, out the door we go, back into the secondary hallway, which goes east-west. And at the end it goes south, so we head south. It goes for quite a ways. And we come to an area that has a boat dock. The river's there again. And there's a stone bridge going over the river, and the hallway narrows as it goes up, and then widens as it goes down. On the dock are a bunch of broken up crates. There are tie-off points for boats. Most of the party goes down and checks out the crates. Wes stays up on top, just to keep eyes on everything. They do find on some of the crate panels a branding of Minok, and Minok is a city-state off to the east. After all that, we all cross the bridge, get to their side. Oh, as we had gone south initially, after we turned the corner and started going south, it's normal hallway as we understand it. But then it changes to solid granite again. There's other parts of the same sort of thing happens, where the passage goes from worked stone to tunneled hallway, and again comes back to work stone afterwards again. So it's like they had built these walls. Because remember, back in the main hallway, the big square, the inside walls are made of large flagstones, and the outside walls are made of brick. So it's like there's these some structure, and somebody has built a hallway against it. Not sure why a hallway necessarily, but that's it. And then so as they're building these hallways, they run into these rock structures that they have to tunnel through. It's kind of interesting. But anyway, we get to their side, and it's back to brick. And we continue south. There's a body, a skeleton. There's a skeleton in the middle of the hallway. Rotted clothing on it, so it's very, very old. We're checking it out, and one of the party members is able to recognize some of the fringe, and it's consistent with the ancient bodies we found elsewhere here in the Moat House area. So this is from the time of Forg. We continue south, and the hallway opens up into a cavern. The top is all natural with stalactites. Oh, the path. As we're walking along the path, it opens up, and there's actually dead grass. The flag stop. I think the flagstones actually stop. It's dirt, and then there's grass on either side. Grass is dead, and it's open to this big cavern, right? And the natural top, some kind of repurposed bottom here, but the sides of this cavern are hewn. They're finished, and it's roughly a square room. And as we're walking along, there's a tombstone off to the right, and further on, another one to the left. And as we start actually looking around and stuff, we are in a cemetery. There are tombstones everywhere, and further up towards the middle of the room is an actual mausoleum. Oh, to the right, in this back wall, on the north wall where we are coming, because we're coming south, are 5 sets of manacles that have been spiked into the wall. And that's fairly recent construction from what we can tell. A couple of the manacles actually still have bits of flesh and blood on them. And Tindo notices a tuft of sod has been pushed up against the edge of the wall. He moves out of the way, and there are scratch marks in the wall there. And it says 5 days Guldak. And Guldak is a tower that is south of Minok, east of here. And then there's a symbol of St. Cuthbert there. So obviously the St. Cuthbert guys were here. Whether they were here for 5 days before people were taken to Guldak, or if they were captured in Guldak after 5 days and brought here, we're trying to figure this out, right? And then, let's go check out the mausoleum. So we move forward, and there are tombs. There are graves that are exhumed throughout the place. And as we get towards the center, towards the mausoleum, there are more and more of these graves that are exhumed. And as we get close to the mausoleum, we hear a chanting, and then a mist starts to pour out of the doorway. And there are actual doors there, and it's got pillars with the rune symbols on it as well, similar to the stuff we found at the other prison levels. And as the mist starts to pour out and fall into the different empty graves, we start to hear the sounds of crackling bones and joints and stuff. So we all retreat back to the entrance so that we can, if something's coming at us, we've got a narrowed front. And sure enough, skeletons crawl out of all these things. There's like a dozen of them, and they start crawling. They start walking towards us. They're walking really, really slow. And they come up to us. Tindo is out front, and Raymond and Alvis are on one side or the other kind of thing. And some move up, so they get engaged. They're fighting. West casts his lightning cloud thing that encompasses 3 of the skeletons at least. Fighting ensues. Raymond has a new spell list, Repulsions, and so he casts Repulse Undead a couple times during this fight. The first time, I think 2 of the skeletons just disintegrated, and the second time, a couple more just disintegrated. All the rest of the skeletons start to flee him, except for 2 that are engaged with Tindo. Alvis engages one of them that's trying to flee away. Raymond books all the way around to engage the ones fighting with Tindo. Wes is in the back, sniping at skeletons with his shock bolt. And so Alvis is wailing on the skeleton with his sword, not doing a lot of damage. Tindo is wailing on another skeleton with his mace, and he's doing a lot of damage. Only one skeleton in the cloud actually succumbs to the lightning damage and dies at the end of the 6 rounds that it's up. We move off towards the mausoleum. Alvis is still chasing down a skeleton, and at that point he stops, drops his pack, digs through, pulls out a hammer, and then goes after the skeleton with his hammer. Got a crit on left arm, I think it was, shatters that. While that's going on, we're at the crypt trying to figure out what to do. It's got those runes that we associate with the prison level. Tindo goes and grabs one. Oh, we also noticed that the skeletal parts are still animated, doing things. Arms crawling along, feet trying to push, that kind of thing. Wes had done a lot of damage to one skeleton, to its head, into its chest, and it was still trying to get away from Raymond. So Tindo goes and grabs that one, drags it over, and throws it through the portal towards the door. As soon as it goes through the pillars, turns to dust. Okay, we don't want to be doing this, which is what we kind of figured. But this is a good way to get rid of skeletons. So we start dragging skeletons and skeleton parts and throwing them through the pillar until all skeletons are disintegrated. And then we all hear, "Free me, and you will be rewarded." And at that, Wes just backs up and runs to the entrance. No. Not messing with that, because there's nobody here that's been digging these graves, but somebody's been digging these graves, so somebody's helping whatever's inside there. Everybody else pretty much starts to back up, but Alvis starts asking questions of it and that kind of thing, and let's go, guys, let's go. So we decide we're leaving. We know about a big, nasty, undead thing here that's in prison, and we know about the clue for Guldak. Part of the party is thinking we should still go to the Goblins and see if they know anything. So we end up, well, before we get there, so we're heading north now towards where the bridge is. And we notice that Alvis's eyes all kind of glazed over. So Wes prepares his Sleep 7 spell. And is just holding on to it. So if something happens, if Alvis starts doing something freaky, he's going to nail him with it. As they come close to the bridge, Alvis starts to run. Raymond says, "Wes, now's the time." So Wes casts the spell. It fails. Raymond tried tripping Alvis because he was right behind him. Is not successful. Tindo casts one of his spells. I think it's Hold, which decreases the target's abilities to 25%, one quarter. So he's now moving at 1/4 speed, which gives Wes enough time to cast Sleep 7 again, which he does successfully, and Alvis succumbs and falls asleep. Gather him up, and we head to the other side of the bridge with the dock, and we kind of make camp there for a bit. So we can just rest, get magic points back. We kind of have a half-on, half-off thing, so people who aren't actively watching are just resting, doing whatever, studying or whatever. And Alvis regains his consciousness. He seems to be okay now. And then we up and move down the hallway. Back towards the goblins. We check that door on the north, and it's locked, and Raymond just cannot get it going. We get back to the main hallway, north-south. We go north and around the corner where the door where we had the goblins before, and it too is locked. Alvis then tries to just bust it down, and as he hits it, we hear a and then Alvis screams as a crossbow bolt had gone through the door and into his arm, and it's got stuff on it, not blood, stuff. So we've all figured it's got to be poison or something, or venom technically. And Tindo does some kind of a heal on Alvis, and so we try to figure out, okay, so what are we going to do now? I'm listening down the north-south hallway, and sure enough, I hear feet running. I tell everybody, hey, there's action to the south. We're kind of figuring they're going to set up an ambush kind of thing, so we come around. I flash the flashlight, magic light thing, goes 50 feet, which is further than the torch and the lantern, which only go like 30. Don't see anything, but an arrow comes flying from the darkness at me. It misses. So there's some more discussion. What do you do? What do you do? Somebody else looks around the corner. Another arrow comes flying up and misses. So we decide we should just kind of shield rush this thing. And so Alexander gets a shield. We should have done 2 up front instead of just 1. But Alexander gets his shield out, gets it up front. We all stack behind him, and down we go. With me pointing the light down. A couple arrows shooting at us. And Raymond says, "Hey, there has to only be one guy down there, or there'll be more arrows coming." When my light gets to the end of the hallway, no goblin there. So obviously he's turned the corner. We get down there. Oh, we make a decision on trying to pincer the goblins. So Raymond and Alvis book north, going around the long way, and it's like 100 feet on each of these things. It'll take a while to get around here. And while they're coming around, the rest of us going west with my light, and we see the goblin, because we rush at this point. We're just rush. And we see the goblin, and he goes through the secret door on the north wall up the stairs. When we get there, he's already, past the top of the stairs. He's gone. Eventually, we wait there. Raymond and Alvis show up. We tell them what's been going on. So we go on up top. No goblin there. We unbury our treasure chest with all the gold plate and stuff. And we head back to Hamlet. Takes a couple days. No encounters en route. We get there, we report to Rufus at the castle. He's actually on the south wall. We're brought down to him. We, discuss what we saw. That we found these etchings and the mausoleum thing. And he's going to have to think on what we can do next about that. He requests that we not leave town until we see him again. And he says, "Oh, one of your old acquaintances is back in town." They call him Runt because of his size. Davin, maybe, is his real name. Or Dallin. It's in my character sheet, I don't know. But anyway, so we head to the Inn of Welcome Wish. He's there. We meet, talk, relax. They start talking about musical instruments, and so everybody goes and grabs their instruments. One of the other players has to go to town to go to his parents' house because his dad has a hurdy-gurdy, which the character knows how to play, but that's an expensive piece of equipment. The dad's not going to just let that out of the house, so the dad goes with him, brings hurdy-gurdy. Everybody's got their instruments, and we all start to play, and an old folk tune kind of thing. Wes doesn't know how to play any instruments. He can sing a little bit, but he's better. He can dance a little bit, but he's better at dancing than singing. So he's going to dance to this folk tune, as something entertaining to do for the folks, and everybody gets the chance to roll with their instruments and stuff like that. The flute and the pan flute both missed their rolls. Everybody else made theirs, including Wes with his dance. So the guys who missed their rolls make some luck rolls. With successful, so they're able to back off to not be too bad. And all in all, it went okay. And so good to go. Oh, that's not too bad. Okay, good to go. People had a good time. Okay, not a problem. If it would have been a nasty mess, they would have kicked us out. Okay, so the next day, Wes takes his horse out for a couple of runs, brush him down, get him all hot and sweaty, because he just knows that this horse is getting fat and lazy, sitting in the stall while we're off at the moat house for 3-4 days at a time kind of thing. He's feeling bad. He also studies his familiar law scroll to try and learn that spell. And we just broke 30 minutes. Sorry, guys, a long one. When I talk extent, when I just talk off the top of my head, it lasts longer than if I'm just reading the script. So that's interesting. I'll have to experiment with that some anyway. Next morning, though, I'm doing this. Raymond's at the church. Tindo's at the church. Who knows what Alexander's doing? And the new guy's just kind of hanging out at the end because he's like under house arrest. But we all get together later, and okay, we notice that the pitcher, glass, and one of the plates have all got these runes on them. And as I examine, yeah, these are magical runes. These things work together to cast some kind of spell, and it's not good. But to find out exactly what and how and why, we'd have to have somebody, with some identification kind of stuff. The church could possibly do that. Burns could, and there's also a druid in town that Alexander knows. We don't really know Burns. We've just interacted with him a couple of times, so we've gotten a foot there. Raymond and Tindo both work at the church, so I think we've got some value there. But we get pointed towards Alexander and the druids. So we go to the druid's place and we show him these 3 pieces. And I point out, I can tell these are magical runes, and together they cast a spell, and it's not good. And he's looking at, no, that's very, very bad. And so he gets some water, and he pours it in the pitcher, and he pours the pitcher water into the glass, and he puts some berries and nuts and stuff on the plate, and he casts some sort of spell, and goes, yeah, now the food is poisoned. Oh, and it also has, like a gauge to keep eating, and keep eating, and keep eating. So eventually the person would die, because the poison is actually very low grade. And it says these need to be destroyed, and there's some discussion on how we go about doing that, and it comes down to the druid can do that. Let's let the druid do it. Alexander asks to watch, to see, and to help. And so they do that, and somewhere along the way the discussion came. Oh, the druid asked, who had these things? Do we know anything about that? And so we've got the signet ring, we've got the scroll, and we've got the silver buttons with the cow horns on it. And we show those to him, and well, at least the ring and the scroll, because I had both of those. And he's reading the scroll, and apparently the scroll is telling Forg essentially to stuff it. So it looks like this is Forg magic that was done on the plate and stuff. And while we're all doing this kind of discussion and stuff, it comes out that there's more treasure. Maybe we should get the rest of it checked out, kind of thing. Rest of it? What else do you have? Okay, so we go back, get the chest, bring it out, and sure enough, all of this stuff is tainted with evil Forg magic figures. Not that Wes is worried about that. Wes has no interest in money whatsoever, but he does know that the rest of the party is cash strapped, and he can't float everybody. And so all the stuff gets destroyed. It turns out though that all the gold stuff is just a gold film on top of pewter, so it was essentially worthless. Oh well. And that's pretty much where we ended the session. I was tempted to ask about, hey, can we just get a whole week off and make skill rolls and all that kind of stuff? But I'm sure that'll happen at the beginning of the next session. Anyway, almost 35 minutes, guys. Sorry it took so long. Happy gaming.